Hi there, Ahmad. It's nice to see that you sent us your first set of essays. Well done. Let's take a look and see what you wrote here. The first one is about schools, whether they should entertain or just be educational. Here's what you wrote. The issue of whether schools ought to mix the education process with excitement or not has been a heated debate lately. Some believe that schools should be for education solely to allow teachers and students to concentrate on the learning process. However, many believe that by adding enjoyment to lessons, no, get rid of by. So, many believe that adding enjoyment to lessons will encourage teachers to be creative and students to be enthusiastic. In my opinion, I totally agree with the latter view, as we shall see. Okay, get rid of this, as we shall see. It sounds a little conversational, actually. Even though the grammar is formal, it sounds like something we would speak rather than write. It would have been okay if you had completed the sentence with something like, I agree totally with the latter view, as shall be shown with examples and arguments below. Okay, that would have been okay, but this just here is a little strange. Other than that, well done. I'm glad that you gave us your position here. That's important to do in your introduction since it very clearly asks for it in the prompt. So good. Now let's take a look at your first body paragraph. On the one hand, no, you said on the one hand, so be careful with that. On the one hand, those who see that schools have been built for teaching and studying only argue that this will allow students to concentrate only on, here not in, on their lessons. This is because they will have no other distracting factors, such as parties, preventing students from devoting themselves totally to the education tasks. For instance, a recent report published in The Guardian stated that about 1/3 of school children waste their time in extracurricular activities. Therefore, if schools save this time for education, students would be benefited more academically. All right, first of all, we don't really use benefit in the passive voice, so it would be better if you had just said would benefit. That's the first thing. The second thing is I'm a little confused about some of the content of this paragraph. Why? Because you said something like distracting factors such as parties, but nobody ever suggested that this idea of entertainment equate to parties. So yes, it talked about schools being more entertaining, but I don't think that you need to necessarily go to the extreme and talk about distracting factors such as parties. I mean, there were other things you could have talked about other entertaining elements of schools and how potentially those could be distracting, but I don't really feel that this is particularly relevant. Okay. Let's continue on and see what you said below. Despite this, it is agreed that entertainment in schools will allow pupils to be passionate, not to, but towards their schools. This will encourage them to be incorporated in school activities and lessons, which are a great opportunity to gain lots of soft skills that they need in their adult life. For instance, a study in Harvard, we don't call it Harvard School, we call it a study from Harvard University, showed that playing group activities such as football increased the teamwork skills significantly between children in primary schools. In addition, this will open the door for teachers to create, not interestingly, but interesting pedagogical, I believe, methods to cater for different students' levels. As a result, many negative problems could disappear from the schools, such as, get rid of the comma, such as truancy and unexcused, it should be inexcused, no? Students' absences should be plural. Being enthusiastically engrossed in the school life, students undoubtedly would achieve more academic success. Okay. So, according to you, you're saying that playing in group activities makes school more entertaining. Does this. Okay. In addition, I would have liked you to maybe talk about this a little more. Opens the teachers to create interesting pedagogical methods. Um, so I would have maybe liked you to talk about that a little more. Although I hesitate to tell you to do that because then you've got this really developed paragraph here and a very underdeveloped paragraph here. So yes, you could have said something a little bit more about that. But on the other hand, I also think you should have then maybe developed some more of these ideas too. I think you did a pretty good job of developing your ideas here, but this felt in comparison a little lacking, okay? There are some grammatical mistakes. You can see that I keep correcting things consistently. But let's take a look at your conclusion before we go on to your next essay. In conclusion, although some believe that education should be the only target for schools, it seems that adding more excitement to school life, get rid of the apostrophe s, yes, apostrophe rather, would allow students to engage more in the learning process and improve their academic achievement. Okay. The thing that most students have a hard time here with is the idea of entertainment in schools. You did talk about extracurricular activities, and it could be argued that some extracurricular activities are in fact not entertaining. Because what do we mean by entertaining? It means fun, amusing, enjoyable, perhaps lighthearted. So a lot of people talk about methodology, and sometimes that feels a little off topic because it gets rid of this idea of fun and entertainment and enjoyment. You kind of talked about it here. You talked about entertainment here. You talked about them becoming passionate. They are incorporated. This is the wrong word, by the way. I think you mean engaged, which is better. Let's see, you talked about playing and activities. So some of this kind of saved your paragraph. I mean, you were kind of like on the borderline of talking about what you're supposed to be talking about and perhaps not. But I thought it was okay. I mean, I think you saved it. I think you could have done a little more here in terms of development, though. All right. Be careful with some of that grammar, and I'd like to go on to your second essay about the enjoyable activity. It is argued by many that playing exciting activity, you don't play an activity, you conduct an activity, you participate in an activity. So playing is the wrong word here. With youngsters, get rid of the. There's a reason for that. Review when we use the in front of a plural and when we do not. So it is argued by many that participating in exciting activities with youngsters enhances, you need an S here, their skills, such as, get rid of the comma, teamwork and cognitive abilities, more than reading does. Okay, you need an extra little word or two here. In my opinion, I strongly agree with this concept and will analyze this with examples to support my perspective. Now here you did this well. That was good. This is what you should have done in your other essay. Undoubtedly, practicing enjoyable group plays. I don't know what this means. What does it mean to practice an enjoyable group play? Do you mean like a theater performance? It's unclear, so be careful with this. So undoubtedly, practicing enjoyable group, activities with children will teach them the meaning of collaboration. For instance, recent studies have suggested that engaging with your children in team-based matches, such as shared video games, can teach them teamwork, coordination, and better attention span. All right, so you have to change some of this around. The main reason for this is that they usually entertain themselves by playing with their parents. No. The main reason for this is that they are entertained by playing with their parents and use all their senses actively. And by this way, they develop more skills. In contrast, reading can improve children's imagination about places and characters, but not their skills. And while interesting in games can make them more attentive, reading encourages them to sleep. Also, if the child had to choose between playing fun games with his parents or reading, he would definitely prefer playing such games. This is interesting. I like that you brought in this comparison about reading. I don't know how I feel about you kind of putting it in here midstream, but I actually do like that you compared your activity to reading. I thought that was a smart thing to do. Let's move on. In addition, some games can enhance children's creativity. This is because you don't need plays, you need games, or games, I guess, or toys even. need using our creative and guessing ability to win, which is an extremely useful soft skill in their adult life. For example, it was mentioned in Child Psychology and Health magazine. Many psychologists advise parents to play hide and seek with their children, which can improve their guessing power and creativity to find suitable places to hide in. Therefore, by playing these entertaining games, not plays, careful, children will not only improve their expectation abilities, but their imaginations. Just imagination. Get rid of the S, get rid of their mind as well. And then you're fine. I'm glad that you spent a paragraph talking about creativity. That was very smart. It was a very good thing to do because you could see here that they've definitely separated it from the other skills. So I'm glad you did that. In conclusion, because of the ability of playing group games with our ability, no, let me try that again. In conclusion, because of the ability of playing group games with our children to instill many positives, such as get rid of the comma, teamwork, cognitive ability, and nerve reflexes. I think that's what you mean, but we definitely don't call it nervous reflexibility. That's the wrong expression. I reiterate my position that this can be better than reading for our offspring. Okay. It's fine. I mean, there are some, look, for your first attempt, it's very good. You've used the template very well. You've definitely gotten a lot of the points that you need to. You stated your position. Your position was clear throughout your essay. You reiterated it in your conclusion. You developed your paragraphs and your ideas. So it's a very good start for your first essay. There are some things that I want you to be careful about. I've been pretty specific about all of them. I want you to be careful with some of this grammar, careful with some of this vocabulary, but you're definitely off to a good start, okay? So now what I need you to do is to correct these, correct them based on my suggestions, and then send that back to us. You're also going to create an error correction list where you write out all the mistakes that I pointed out, and next to each mistake, what the correct version would be. Then you're going to add to that with every essay you get back. And then the third thing you need to do is send us another set of essays. So go ahead and get that started. Let's meet back here in about a day or so with your new essays. I'll be waiting for them. Good luck.